Welcome to the episode where we'll be exploring the fascinating and ever-evolving topic of time and the nature of the universe. From the ancient civilization to the modern-day physics, humanity has always been captivated with the mysteries of time and the cosmos. We will journey through history from the debates of the Greek philosophers to the scientific revolution of the 17th century and the mind-bending theories of the modern cosmology. Join us as we uncover the history of the human understanding of time and the universe, and discover how we got here, or got where we are today, according to time. Now, this is my perspective and my research and my script that I went into, so this is what I think. This is just something I think is fascinating. Ancient Egyptians, for example, had a complex system of calendars and timekeeping based on the cycles of the Nile River, as well as religious understanding of time in which the pharaohs were believed to be eternal. In ancient Greece, philosophers such as Alexander, Parmenides, and Zeno debated the nature of time and the universe. And forgive me for mispronunciations. Some of these words and names are difficult. In the early Western culture, the prevailing understanding of time and the universe comes from religion, with the belief in a creator, god, or gods. And it wasn't until the scientific revolution of the 16th and 17th centuries that a new understanding of the natural world emerged, based on observation and experiment. We all know Isaac Newton, right? Isaac Newton's work in the 17th century laid the foundation for the concept of absolute time and the laws of motion that governed the behavior of physics of the physical world. But Newton's concept of time as absolute was challenged in the 20th century by Albert Einstein's theory of relativity, which showed that time is relative and can be affected by motion and gravity. In the later half of the 20th century, discoveries in quantum mechanics and cosmology led to a new understanding of the very small and very large scales of the universe. And scientists proposed theories such as string theory and the multiverse hypothesis to explain what's beyond our observable universe. As we move into the 21st century, the field of cosmology is still active and constantly evolving, with new discoveries and advancements in technologies such as detection of gravitational waves, the study of dark matter and dark energy, and the search for a theory of quantum gravity. Now that we have a sense of how our understanding of time has evolved over time, let's dive into some of the key concepts of theories that shaped our current understanding of time. Going back to the ancient Egyptians, they had a complex system of timekeeping and calendar making that was closely tied to the cycles of the Nile River. The Nile's annual flooding provided a constant and predictable time marker, which the ancient Egyptians used to measure the passage of time. They divided the year into 3 seasons based on the Nile's flooding: Ahit or Akit, flooding; Pirit, growth; and Shimu, low Nile. Each season was divided into 4 months of 30 days, with an additional 5 epagonial days at the end of the year, which is like a leap year, technically. In addition to their system of civil timekeeping, the ancient Egyptians also had a religious understanding of time in which the pharaohs were believed to be eternal. The pharaohs were seen as the link between gods and the people, and were believed to be divine. They were also associated with the god Horus, who was associated with the rising sun and the concept of the eternal cycle of death and rebirth. Ancient Egyptians also had a belief that afterlife existed, and deceased souls will be judged by the god Horus, based on the deeds they have done in their lifetime. They believe that the souls of the deceased who passed the judgment will live an eternal life in the afterlife. This belief in the eternal nature of the pharaohs and the afterlife is reflected in the monumental structure and funeral practices, such as the construction of the pyramids and the practice of mummification, which was believed to preserve the body for eternity. As I stated earlier, in ancient Greece, philosophers such as Anaximander, Parmenides, and Zeno made significant contributions to the debate of the nature of time and the universe. Anaximander, I'm going to spell that in for you, Anaximander. I apologize for saying that wrong. Who lived around 610 to 546 BCE, was one of the first philosophers to propose a naturalistic explanation of the origins of the universe. He argued that the universe was eternal and that had no beginning or end, and that all things come into being and pass away according to the passing of a continual change and replacement. He also proposed the idea of the boundless, or infinite, as the source of all things, which he saw as a cosmic principle of balance and order. Parmenides, 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 who lived around 515 to 450 BCE, took a different approach. He arguing that change was an illusion and that reality was unchanging and eternal. He believed that the universe was made up of a single unchanging substance, which he called being, and that all change and motion were illusory. He also argued that time and space was not real, and that the universe was a single eternal present. Zeno of Ella, who was a student of Parmenides, is famous for his paradoxes, which were intended to prove that motion and change was also illusory, and to support the idea that the universe was unchanging and eternal. These three philosophers had different ideas on time and the universe, but they all have in common the idea of eternity and unchanging nature of the universe. They also influenced the later philosophers and scientists such as Aristotle, Newton, who were impacted by their ideas and developed their own perspectives. In the 20th century, our understanding of time and the universe underwent a significant change. With the advent of new theories and discoveries, one of the most noble changes was the challenge of the concept of absolute time, which has been a foundation of physics since the time of Isaac Newton. This change brought about by the theory of relativity proposed by Albert Einstein in his special theory of relativity 1905 and general theory of relativity in 1915. In his theory of relativity, Einstein proposed that time is relative to the observer and that its passage is affected by motion and gravity. He proposed that time dilation occurs at high speeds and length contractions. This challenges the traditional notion of absolute time, which has been accepted as a fundamental concept in physics for centuries, and introduced a new understanding of the nature of time that fundamentally changed the way we think about the universe. The theory of relativity also had a significant impact on other fields of science, such as cosmology, quantum mechanics, and the study of black holes. It also paved the way for new discoveries, such as the detection of gravitational waves, the study of dark matter and dark energy, and the search for a theory of quantum gravity. In addition, the 20th century saw a lot of development in technologies such as the atomic clock and the GPS, which allows us to have more precise measurements of time. The 20th century saw a fundamental shift in our understanding of time through the theory of relativity. This has not only led to new discoveries in physics, but also promoted new questions and perspectives in philosophy. Now let's take a closer look at the philosophical perspectives on the nature of time and how they relate to our current understanding of the universe. Presentism. This is the view that only the present exists, and the past and the present do not. This perspective is in contrast to eternalism, which holds that past, present, and future are real and exist simultaneously. One of the main arguments for presentism is that the past and the future are not present to us, and therefore cannot be known directly. This means that the past and the future cannot be observed or measured, and therefore cannot be said to exist in the same way that the present does. Additionally, many philosophers argue that the past and the future and dependent on the present, and that the present is the foundation of all temporal experiences. Let me state that again. Additionally, many philosophers argue that the past and the future are dependent on the present, and that the present is the foundation of all temporal experiences. Presentism is often contrasted with the philosophical perspective of eternalism, which holds that the past, present, and the future all exist simultaneously, and that there is no objective difference between the present, past, and future. According to eternalism, time is like a fourth-dimensional spacetime, in which all events are already fixed and predetermined, and the illusion of the flow of time is the result of our perception on it. Speaking of eternalism, it can be traced back to ancient Greek philosophers, such as Parmenides, who we talked about earlier, who argued that change is an illusion and that reality is unchanging and eternal, the concept which also developed by Einstein in his theory of general relativity. He proposed that the universe can be modeled as a fourth-dimensional space-time in which the past, the present, and the future all part of a single unchanging block. One of the main arguments for eternalism is that the past and the future are not qualitatively different from the present, and that all events in space-time, including those in the past and future, are just as real as the events in the present. This view also consists with the idea that the universe is deterministic, meaning that given enough information about the past, the future can be predicted with certainty. That is a lot. That's just like mind-boggling right there. How much that oof. On the next perspective, the 8th theory of time. I swear I've talked about this somewhere else. Anyway, also known as the 10th theory of time, is a philosophical perspective on the nature of time that holds that time has a fundamental direction, usually taken to be the direction of the flow time, from the past to the future. According to this view, the past, present, and future are not all equally real and exist, but rather the present is special. It is the only time that truly exists. While the past no longer exists and the present yet while the past no longer exists and the future not yet exists, This theory states that time flows from the past to the future, and that the present moment is the dividing line between the past and the future. One of the main arguments for the A theory of time, oh my goodness, is that we experience the passage of time, and that this experience is characterized by a sense of flow of time, with each event happening one after another. This is often described as the arrow of time, which points in one direction from the past to the future. This is also supported by the second law of thermodynamics, which states that entropy increases over time and that there is an objective asymmetry between past and future. A theory of time is in contrast with the B theory of time, also known as the tenseless theory. Sorry, I don't know what's going on. It moved me. Also known as the tenseless theory of time, which holds that time does not have a fundamental direction, and that the past, present, and future are all equally real in existence in a fourth dimensional space-time. This theory holds that there is no objective flow of time, but rather that the past, present, and future are all static and unchanging. This theory is consistent with the theory of relativity proposed by Einstein, which models that the universe as a fourth dimensional space-time in which past, the present, and the future are all part of a single unchanging block. That's not crazy. Listen to this theory. The nature of time and consciousness is a topic of ongoing philosophical debate. Some philosophers argue that time is a feature of the external world, and that our experiences of time is a direct reflection of the objective passage of time in the physical world. Others argue that time is a product of the mind, and that our experience of time is a result of the way our minds process and organize sensory information. One perspective on this topic is that subjective view of time, which holds that time is a philosophical phenomenon or a psychological phenomenon, and that emerges from the way our minds process information. According to this view, our experiences of time is not a direct reflection of objective time, but is instead a result of the way our minds organize and process sensory information. This means that the experience of time is subjective, and that different people may have different experiences on the passage of time. Another perspective is that objective view of time, which holds that time is a feature of the external world, and that our experiences of time reflects the objective passage of time. According to this view, time exists independently of our mind, and our experiences of time is a direct reflection of the objective flow of time in the physical world. Additionally, there are some theories that propose a hybrid perspective that holds time has both objective and subjective aspects. Time is a feature of the external world, but a subjective experience of the emergence from the way our mind organizes and interprets the sensory information about the passage of time. It's worth noting that the perspectives are abstract, that these perspectives are abstract and theoretical, and may be difficult for some people to fully grasp. Furthermore, it's possible that the truth about the relationship between the consciousness of time and consciousness, the relationship between time and consciousness, lies somewhere between these different perspectives, and that it may be a complex and multifaceted phenomenon. Last, but definitely not least, is the perspective of the relationship between time and causality. or cause and effect. In this area of ongoing philosophical debate, causality is the idea that events are connected in a particular order, with one event causing another event happening. This concept is closely tied to the concept of time, as causality implies that events occur in a specific order, which with a cause preceding an effect. One perspective on this topic is that objective view of causality, which holds that causality is a feature of the external world and that the causality and effect relationship exists independently of our minds. According to this view, causality is a fundamental aspect of the universe, and the cause and effect relationship is real and objective feature of the world. Another perspective is the subjective view of causality, which holds that causality is a product of our mind's way of organizing its perceptions. According to this view, cause and effect relationships are not inherent to the world, but instead a product of the way we interpret and make sense of our experiences. This means that the concept of causality is subjective, and that different people may have different interpretations of cause and effect relationships. Additionally, some theories propose a hybrid perspective, holding that causality is both objective and subjective aspects. Causality is a fundamental aspect of the external world, but our perceptions and interperceptions of its emergence from the way our mind processes these sensory informations. Oh man. The relationship between time and causality may be complex, and it may be somewhat of a wild phenomenon, but that the different perspective on causalities can lead to different conclusions in many philosophical debates, such as free will, determinism, and the nature of time. I think I did a free will podcast somewhere back in a couple episodes ago. But yeah, so we've covered a lot of ground in this episode, right? And we hope you've been able to keep up with us, because it's been a lot. Not gonna lie, it's been a lot. We began looking at how humans' understanding of time and the universe has evolved throughout history, starting with ancient civilizations and their understanding of time based on natural cycles, and moving on to the scientific revolution of the 16th and 17th centuries, up to the modern day era, where with Einstein's theory of relativity and recent advancements in cosmology. In addition to that, we also dived into various philosophical perspectives on the nature of time, including presentism, internalism, the A theory, and the B theory of time, and the consciousness and the nature of time and consciousness. But we know that it's a lot to take in, and we hope you found some of this informative and somewhat engaging. That's kind of what we're trying to get with these episodes. And now, as we wrap it up, we want you to know that this is an ongoing conversation. The nature of time and the universe is something that people have been trying to understand for centuries, and will continue to explore it in the future. But what's great about this topic is that it's so vast, and there's always something new to discover, and that's why we hope you'll tune in when we talk about it next time, as we'll continue to dive into deeper in different aspects of time and the universe. Thanks for listening and being a part of this conversation with us. I'll definitely do another episode of time, but I'm going to do it in a different way and a different style. We'll talk about it in a different term. But this is the ending of this episode, and I hope you like the nature of time, a philosophical odyssey. And I'm your host, signing out. I hope you have a great day, evening or night. Until the next time, goodbye.